Once again, we have the privilege of talking with Rabbi Leib Tropper Shlita in our Meshiv series. And by the way, we'd like everybody to know that if you have any particular questions about this subject or any topic that you'd like to hear more about, you can reach us at eichlermedia@gmail.com. Rabbi Tropper, marriages today are in a very difficult situation. Whether it's the outside world, the inside world, the Torah community is suffering from so much of what's going on in terms of finding a security zone in marriage. They feel comfortable with one's spouse and to deal with the issues and the pressures all around us. How does the Torah address dealing with the day-to-day issues that manifest themselves that seem to be causing so much storm and stress and strife in marriages today?
There are many self-help books that are written, available in Barnes & Noble and other places that one could get for seeing your dream of a marriage come true, and all kinds of things that are a lot of fluff and not rooted in anything that is, I would say, anything that is really solid, nothing secure, nothing immovable, nothing that's dependable. I first want to review the problem with you. There was a book years ago by Alvin Toffler. He wrote a book called Future Shock. In this book, he describes one of the major problems, or one of the idiosyncrasies of American society, is that we have paper cups, paper dishes, paper forks, paper knives, paper towels, paper plates, disposable tablecloths, disposable garbage cans, disposable. Everything is disposable. So marriage is also one of those things that become disposable. So I'll get married. If I don't like it, I'll get divorced. Now, I must make a kind of not a confession, but I must come clean and say that I also went through a divorce. But it was a great effort in trying to keep it together. Today, the marriage being disposable, right, means like, you don't like it, okay, we'll try that. Does it work? Doesn't work? Big deal. Okay, next. And then, we'll
take the happiness temperature. Right. It's not 98.6.
Yeah, that's right. It's the next case, right? And the happiness becomes an issue that we don't know how to define it. We don't, and this is maybe part of the problem, that we sit and try to define it in a way that is not in the Torah perspective. How do we define it? What is the cost of a marriage? What is really the spiritual and emotional cost supposed to be when one gets married? There are various components to what the Stipler says the most important midah in a marriage that one needs is vitur. How would you say the word vitur in English, parrots? I don't mean giving in, but
nullifying, giving in, relinquishing one's own.
That's probably the relinquishment of one's own desire and his position for the sake of his wife, his desire, and not standing on principle and creating a whole fury between him and his spouse, destroying the love that exists between them, and because they're just like stuck in their ways. Vitur. That's one of the most important components. And the Stipler writes in general, between relationships between people, between partners in business, between friends and neighbors, vitur is a midah, it's a virtue, plus it's an unbelievable segue to limitless bracha. Stipler tells us that the midah of vitronus only goes one way. It leads to bracha. I mean, the Chazal talk about the Gemara in Shabbos and other places. The Gemara says, "Hanelovim ve'enim olvim," people who are, keep quiet when they're insulted and don't respond in order not to avoid widening the machlokes. God will bless him. They'll be like the sun shining bright in the eyes in Olam Haba and in a future life, a future time, and a future place. They will have all those special brachas. Amen. That's in regard to what we know as security zone. To create a security zone in marriage, a person has to be a tremendous man and a woman. Both of them need to be vatronim. They need to be able to be those kinds of people who know how to be mevater, not stand on principle, but know how to acquiesce to somebody else's will. And even though, yes, you feel you're right, and you may be right, but mevater, I'm not going to make an issue of it, make a machlekes because of it. That is a very important point. To create what Tuffler's complaining about, the security zone in marriage, and that the marriage shouldn't be dispensable, you need to have some kind of strong midah of savlonus, patience and tolerance, and more importantly, even being mevater. That's for the man and for the woman. Marriage is supposed to be for keeps, as we say in the old day, right? In Lower East Side. It's for keeps. It's not like just, okay, I'm going to marry you for a week, and then next, I give a get, and the next one. The Torah wants it to be for keeps. It should be shalom. Chazal, replete various sources in the Chazal is this message over and over again about shalom, shalva, shalom bayis, and how much we do for shalom bayis, and how much we surrender for shalom bayis. That's on both sides, not just the man, not just the woman. Both of them surrender for shalom bayis in order to have that. But today, the shalom bayis line was pushed up to like almost nothing. Like it's the age of the line where it's almost nothing. Maybe I'll give in a little bit. If he wants 5 challahs for Shabbos, I want 4, so I'll buy 4 and a small bulka to make it. The shalom bayis bar has been pushed up to like almost nothing. There's no real veto on anything. Women don't want to be mevater, and men are not being mevater, and it's just creating a situation where that creates a lack of a security zone in a marriage. Don't look elsewhere. Don't look under the sun. Don't look above the sun, which is in Shemayim. Look under the sun, which is in earth, in this world. Tachas Hashem. You look in this world, under the sun, what we do. I remember somebody went to Rav Shach, and he came to Rav Shach and told him that he has a problem with Shalom Bayis. His wife's a wonderful person, but she makes demands on him. Tremendous demands on him. And he finally decided he has to get rid of this problem. So he went to a Mekubal. That wasn't the way Rav Shach would handle a problem with Shalom Bayis personally. I don't think that was the way he would. He went to a Mekubal, and the Mekubal suggested perhaps they should bring him his mezuzahs to this Mekubal, and he'll check his mezuzahs. Rav Shach, in his growly voice, said, "Check the midas, stop and check." You have to check the midas, not the mezuzahs. That's an Adam Gadol Shebegdalim, Rabban Shal Yisrael, talking to a young man who's having marital problems, and he's going ahead to try to find out how to resolve the problems by checking his mezuzahs.
And it should be presumably more than twice in 7 years.
Well, but Shach's idea was to check the midas. That's what's important. Sometimes the midas means that it has to cost them, the one person more than the other. Like a vitur, in this case, more than another time the woman's mevater is. But that is the primary issue, is being mevater.
But why is it that that's become such an issue today and wasn't in prior generations?
Because first they saw their parents do that, and they saw the value of shalom bayis. Remarriage wasn't so much of an honorary degree to anything. We were married 3 times, 4 times. There's your story, famous story, perhaps, with the guy Irving, and so much nachas from one child that you constantly repeat that story, and people just valued the Eibush they gave ish for isha shechina b'neihem. They value that shechina that they're having with being together. There are times that that the Torah has there is a parsha of get in the Torah. It's not like there doesn't exist a parsha, that there's no parsha of gittin if a person has no choice. It's intolerable. There are issues that are far beyond just like being mevater on, and those cases are usually for a seasoned Adam Gadol, not just a plain Rav who probably adopted much of his ideas from psychological psychobabble, and rather, you need a serious Adam Gadol, Damat Chacham in your Shemayim to go and suggest to you what is intolerable, what is something that there is still room for more growth and midas.
Do you think that many marriages probably would be, or would have been, or could be saved if people weren't so quick to jump the gun and would seek that type of counsel?
Right. If people would look to find out, like, how could I be mavater in a way that I should feel whole? Rav Hutner had an expression. It's a powerful expression. He said, when you have two opposing positions, you have to try that the lion should be satisfied, but the sheep should remain whole. So, with the vitor, it's possible sometimes. This one's mavater, another mavater. Remember, it's a very powerful expression. The lion should be satisfied, the aggressor, the one who wants to get what they want to get, but the sheep that is giving in shouldn't be totally destroyed. It should remain whole.
So there is a way, according to the Torah, to reconcile when an immovable object meets an irreconcilable force.
Right, to create it, to return it to a situation where it's not an immovable object, or not an immovable force. It's either one. I mean, there's a way to do that. It's called vita. We have a gift of midas, being medoimet to Kadosh Baruch Hu, in that midah of being mavater, giving in. There's another tzara, a tzara hil Yaakov, in another area of seeking shidduchim, where the search for shidduchim became one where there's a new concept that I didn't grow up with, and I don't, maybe it's better, maybe it's worse, I don't know, but it's definitely different. And the Gedolim of the past never thought of it for some reason, so I don't know how great it could be. This resume business, resumes and all kinds of different resumes. I just want to share with you first a story with, like I told you, the value of the stories, not what the pikchus, the wisdom of Rabbi Shmuel Rozovsky, one of the yeshivas of Panovich. But I think it's important that we examine this from a perspective of what we need to learn seeking for shidduch. Chazon Ish would say, before I get to this Rabbi Shmuel Rozovsky, Chazon Ish would say that one of the worst components in a recipe of a marriage is stubbornness, akshanas. Being stubborn. Sometimes it's stubborn about narishkeit. They'll say who, they'll say he. He'll say she, he'll say we. I mean, it's just like totally stubbornness, just to be in an adversarial position, and they're stubborn about that. About a real narishkeit. Big deal. So, you know what? Don't be so stubborn, and somebody will give in. You don't be so stubborn. The man don't be so stubborn. What are you really giving in? What are you giving in? I want to make the bar mitzvah in this dafki. I wanted my friends coming to the bar mitzvah in the hall of this shul. Of course, $8,000 more than the other place, but I need that. The wife said, "We don't have the money, so we'll borrow the money. We'll get the money, and we'll get the money. We'll do it." You're fighting and going. It's an hour and a half. The whole kiddush. I mean, what are you fighting about? What are they to fight about? I'm not trying to impute the whole segment of Klal Yisrael, Chas v'Shalom, that they're doing things totally, wrong. I don't want to say that people doing things wrong. I'm just making a point that we should consider. Shmuel Rozovsky from Panovich. It's a fascinating story. It's almost hilarious. He was a very smart man, died young, beloved Rosh Yeshiva. I heard shiurim from him a little bit in Czechoslovakia when I went to Panovich to hear shiurim for a short period of time. And Shmuel Zechasadik Levracha was asked to help in an arrangement of a shidduch. So Shmuel was first visited by the father of the Kala. And Shmuel, when he's visited, he said, the father said to Shmuel, Rosh Yeshiva, I want to ask you, is this person your Shemai? He said, yeah. Is he a Lamnin? Yeah. Is he a masmid? Yeah. Does he have derech eretz for Rabbeim? Yeah. A list of things about his learning. And then he finished. He said, wow, that's great. Good news to hear. I'm going to report back to my daughter the things you said about him, how wonderful he is. He's loved in the yeshiva. Guys love him. Guys love to speak and learning with him. Shmuel tapped on the table and he said, excuse me, but you forgot to ask the major questions. What do you mean? I ask you, you're a Shemayim. What do you mean? So you don't ask me if he brushes his teeth in the morning, so his wife shouldn't feel like, nauseous when she was near him. You didn't ask me if he takes a shower regularly, so the people sit next to him shouldn't go. You didn't ask me all the simple things, how he walks into the room when his friend's sleeping. What does he do when his friend's ill? Does he try to help? Those questions you didn't ask me. I don't understand. Those are much more important questions for you to ask me for a marriage. Here's the point I'm saying, guys. A person, I mentioned this to you this morning, a person could be a woman or a man, could be very valuable as a human being, kind, generous, thoughtful, sincere, sensitive, wonderful things, but not a good husband and not a good wife. Person is busy all day long with everything in the world. He's busy with chesed and doing this and going here and going there, but has no time for his children or his wife. He's not a good father. He's not a good husband. A person who has less time for outside things, but is very good to his wife or to his children, is a good father and a good husband and a good person. A woman who's running around doing all kind of chesed and this and doing that and she has the word busy coming out of her tongue all day long. I'm busy. I'm so busy. I can't do this. I can't do that. That's a sign of a very nice person, a roidefes chesed, a woman who pursues kindness, but not necessarily a good wife.
Well, how would one know? There's no track record or equity before of having been in that situation, so how does one measure, evaluate, or...
You could at least mitigate the potential of the issue by asking them, what is most important to you? What are your priorities? Your family? Chesed to neighbors? Is it your husband? More important than what is more important to you? A woman who's a Yira Shemayim and Balas Midas would say the most important thing to me is my husband, my family. That's what the Eibishter put the woman to be here for that person, for that person, and for that person, of course. But somehow women have this kind of, they don't want to surrender. They're stubborn about surrendering this ego about like doing for Klal Yisrael. I'm doing for Klal Yisrael. Women weren't made to be doing for Klal Yisrael in that way. They do for Klal Yisrael in other ways, tremendous ways. Yes, there are women in Lakewood that go teach Yiddish Kinderlach. They come home and they're back with their families. When they have to go out and work. But if they don't have to go out and work, then they dedicate to their spouse and to their children. Maybe perhaps you should put that on a resume. Ask them, what is the most important thing to you in your relationship? Who was the most important person to you in a relationship? You don't see that on a resume. For a man and for the woman. A man could be wonderful to all of Klal Yisrael, but miserable to his wife. He could be terrific tzaddik, he could daven 16 hours a day, and he could daven even more than that. And he could give tzedakah, and he could do chesed, he could do all kind of things, but not necessarily be good to his spouse. Kind to his spouse, or fill in the needs. Not doing chesed to the wife's emotional needs. Forget about being there present for her, but even doing chesed for her emotional needs. I didn't learn this when I was 20, when I got first, younger than 20, 19-ish, when I got married. I didn't learn that. I didn't know it, and there are mistakes that I made because of that. But when you grow up and you learn what truth is and what true value is, you find out. The Ratzon Hashem is not as complicated sometimes, and you travel many, many miles away from it by seeking these greener pastures of what people call Klal Yisrael, and not Reb Yisrael, not your Reb Yisrael that you have in your house, your Reb Yisrael, your spouse, your children, and usually the plague just is born out of that problem, and children don't turn out to be the way parents expect them to be. You can't bring up children by remote control. You can't show love to your spouse by remote control. You need to be present. Presence is part of that. Saying my husband is sacrificing his time for doing this and that because he wants to be with me. That's part of the act of the feeling of love that people have one for another. And yes, there is sacrifice in that. But the rewards are so much greater. And not only the rewards so much greater, it's the right thing. There's nothing better than the right thing. I remember that there were I think I remember when there were women. Is this my parents? No? Okay. I had it somewhere here, right? The little notebook. Yes, right here. I just want to, I may not have it with me, so I will not repeat it. I don't have it with me, so we'll repeat it next time. I just, sometimes, because I'll call it being Yisurim, a person who has a Isha Ra, it doesn't see Pnei Gehenim, it's a person, Gemara says that a man said, Kol Ra, God put on me any bad thing to happen, but like Isha Ra, I don't need a bad woman, a bad wife in my life. Ignoring a spouse, a man ignoring his wife, a woman ignoring her husband, his needs, his emotional needs, and his just basic needs of food and to be cared for and so on and so forth. That's not what the Ratzon Hashem is. It looks like it smells like it, but it's far from it. There are Gedolei Yisrael today who are fighting this plague of chesed, tzedakah, mitzvahs, run around, and it causes tremendous burden to the husband to have to stop learning and doing things in the house and take care of it because the wife is very busy doing chesed, and vice versa, where the wife needs help in the house with certain things. The husband can't do it because he can't learn till 11:30. He has to learn till 12 o'clock. Well, sometimes you tell your chavrusa, I have to go home early. My wife needs my help. The Eibush just smiled when he hears those words. I know it's a little bit abbreviated, but I just want to tell my listeners, share my listeners the hope that at least some of what we were shared with you today, should enter the depths of your cognitive emotions and allow it to sink in, to develop it, to adopt it. And Mitzvah Hashem, you'll see so much bracha in your life. So much bracha. Bracha itself means an abundance. So much bracha means so much of abundance by investing in these things. Number one, investing in thinking about what are the priority chesed in my life, my husband, my family, or to this klal effort, this tea that I'm going to, or this other thing. And the husband, same thing. I'm going to a dinner of a yeshiva, or my wife needs my help really desperately. That's a priority. Stubbornness. And the opposite of stubbornness, which is the vitor. Acquiescing to the wishes of another. And not being stubborn. The refinement of character, one who possesses this kind of ability to acquiesce to someone else. Not to have their way. If it isn't a major issue that's, determining the future of the house. We everybody bracha v'atzlacha. Hope to see you again next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi Leib Tropper.